Hi everybody! So I'm really excited for this video. I am here to talk about the movies that I've seen in the month of June and July. Normally I do a video at the end of each month, but because I was in Spain I was in Spain from the 29th of June to the 12th of July, and so I wasn't able to do an end of the month June video. So I'm going to do the both months this month, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm talking about a lot of variety, a lot of the things that I saw, and I'm going to go through it as quickly as I can so it's not too boring. But I will have the Q&A up if anybody wants to ask me any questions about any of these films I'm going to talk about. Feel free, or just put in the comment section. And so let's get started. And you can find reviews to almost all of these films either in my blog or on my YouTube channel. Some of them I haven't yet, but so some of them this will be my review. But there you go. So okay, so let's start. I had two repeat viewings in these last 2 months. I saw Singing in the Rain on the big screen, which was amazing, incredible, so funny, so smart, such great script. Great performances, amazing dance numbers, the Broadway ballet, incredible, probably the best ballet sequence ever put on film, and it's just perfect. Perfect. And then I also saw Akira on the big screen. I just saw that this weekend, and that was amazing. It's so much better on the big screen. I really debated because it was a midnight showing, and I'm like, this sounds so tiring, but there's so much energy to it. You couldn't really feel tired, and it is violent and it is bloody and it is, for adults more, but it never dwells in the violence very long, and it just keeps going and going and going, and the visuals are so beautiful, and the sound mixing is really incredible. You really feel the just everything. You just feel it feels so real, and I think that was even more so on the big screen, so that was a real treat to get to see Akira. If you haven't seen it, it's totally different, it's totally weird, but I recommend giving it a shot if you're an animation fan, because it's just so bold and so striking. So there you go. So those are the two that I saw that I had seen before. Okay, so starting in June, it's interesting because certain movies in my review I'm pretty kind to, and I give a little bit of a pass to, I guess, because I think they're okay movies. But then, like a couple months later, I'm like, I don't even remember that. Like it's just so. So it's sort of interesting that way. Sometimes I can be a little bit nicer up front. Sometimes it can be a little bit harder up front. And like recently with the Rio movie, I rewatched it, and I'm like, I was way too nitpicky on this the first time I saw it. It's not a bad film. But anyway, so one example of one that I was pretty easy on, I think, of my review was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. It was the first movie I think I saw in June, and at the theaters, and it's not a terrible film. I think it is made more for children, which at the time, to me, that was sort of refreshing because I had seen so many dark and grim, non-child friendly superhero movies, so this was kind of nice. But really, honestly, I can't even hardly remember anything about it. So, and some of the more adult moments I wish they had included if they were going to make it more for kids. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I do think it's a little better than the first one. I still do, but it is pretty forgettable. Like I really can't remember much about it. So there you go. The next film that I saw in June is a little documentary called Presenting Princess Shaw. This has been a great year for documentaries. I've already seen 3 that I love, and and so there's this film called Presenting Princess Shaw, and it is about a YouTuber, and this whose name is Princess Shaw. Samantha is her name, and she's this really neat person, and she really sort of personifies what's great about YouTube at its heart. That this woman who is just singing and sharing her life, and not getting that many hits, but finding some value from it, and that she gets discovered, her song, by this guy named Kudamon, who does these mashups, and they meet and they help each other, and so it's just everything good that can happen from this crazy form of communication. So I really, really was inspired by it. I loved it. I thought it was genuine, and so I highly recommend it for any of you to seek out Presenting Princess Sha. Okay, then the next film that I saw, it was not a strong piece of work. It's called The Do-Over, and this has Adam Sandler. Oh. Oh, I wasn't going to see it. I had said, I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to put myself through that. But, a couple of my friends were, interested and wanted to know and whatever. And I felt like I had this duty to kind of warn people about The Do-Over. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so boring. I mean, this one, like some of his other movies have had at least something, like have been sort of, I don't know if I would say they were boring, but this was just boring. And it had Adam Sandler and David Spade are incredibly unlikable in this film. They fake their deaths and they steal other people's identity, and they are just slimy and horrible, and it's really, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, it's an Adam Sandler movie, so of course it's really misogynistic and disgusting what they do to women in it. And Paula Patton, ugh, she's so beautiful. I don't know what she's doing in these movies. All right, what was that noise? Huh. Sorry, I just heard. Okay, sorry about that. I just got a big loud notice. Okay, so yeah, The Do-Over is horrible. Don't see it. Don't give it any of your views on Netflix. Okay, it's the worst movie I've seen this year. It's just completely void of anything at all. Nobody tried. Nobody cared. It's a 0. It's an F. It's the worst kind of filmmaking, and I just hated it so much. So then the next film that I saw was Central Intelligence, and this was a comedy that actually made me laugh. I'm not going to say it's super memorable, but I thought it was funny the way that they kind of changed things up a little bit about what you expected, because The Rock was sort of the insecure, sort of more effeminate one. He liked unicorns and stuff like that, and he was sort of weird and different. And Kevin Hart toned down the shrillness. He was sort of more the straight guy in it, and it made me laugh. In the end, the plot's kind of stupid. Amy Ryan is kind of wasted, but I thought it was funny. So there you go. Maybe I was just in the mood for laughing after seeing The Do-Over. I don't know. Okay. Then next I saw Warcraft. I didn't review it on this channel just because some of the fellow YouTubers I know, Rihanna Toria and a few others, were just treated like terribly by the commenters. It's like they got the slightest things wrong, and they were, as far as names or pronunciations or something, and they were called whales and cows and horrible names and just ridiculousness. And why would I want to put myself through that? I thought it was. I did review it on my blog though, because I find that the blog commenters tend to be a lot nicer, unfortunately. But I thought it was horrible. It has no cohesive story at all. I had no idea what was going on, who was who, why they were fighting, what the rules were to this portal, what the rules were for the magic, what this spell was and how it worked. I mean, I guess you know this if you played the game, but I had no clue. I thought the acting was terrible. I mean, I thought some of the visuals were fine, but you didn't know who was fighting who or what was going on. And there were certain things, like there's this one moment where one of the characters kind of passes out, and there's like in the middle of this big fight, they're battling it out, and he passes out, and he wakes up, and everybody is standing there basically like staring at him. Why are they staring at him? What is going on? Like it's all to just have this like pregnant pause and this grand moment or something like that, but it makes no sense with the story. And there was no story. I had no clear, like, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, this is what's going on. It was so frustrating. I mean, I went out into the hallway and I literally read the Wikipedia summary because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no clue. And I still was confused. So whatever, I don't know. I did not care for it. It is definitely one of the worst of the year, I think. I thought it was horrible. And I thought uh the the wizard was horrible. Like, it was, I mean, it was just a terribly written character, terribly written dialogue. I thought Paul Patton's character was awful. It's just, she needs to fire her agent because she deserves better. She's a beautiful woman, and I don't think she's that bad of an actress, but oof, I thought Warcraft was horrible. So there we go. Next, woo, next I saw Independence Day Resurgence. So this was kind of a rough little run there. I don't know if June was, this summer has been rough. And I wasn't that big a fan of the original. I wasn't that big a fan of the original Independence when I saw it on the rewatch. I thought it was kind of boring, and there's lots of standing around, talking, and staring at screens. It's saved by a great last act, by the great speech. Pretty much, speech onward is really fun, and Will Smith, and great charisma from the stars, but a lot of it is kind of dry, I thought. So we get to this Independence Day Resurgence, and it is completely forgettable, completely lame. I didn't think it was as horrible as some people did. I certainly think it's way better than Warcraft, but I don't know. It just, I thought it has all of these plots, and you didn't need half of them, and the charisma just isn't there on any of the actors. And at a certain point, it just feels like destruction kind of porn, where you're just looking at all these cities and it means nothing. And it's kind of similar how I felt with X-Men Apocalypse, where it's just destruction upon destruction upon destruction. And I just hate that kind of thing. It's not for me. So it wasn't a good movie, that's for sure. Very, very, at best, it's forgettable. Then finally, a good movie. I saw I saw Finding Dory twice, and I think I'm not going to say it's as good as the first one, but I think it's really different because in the original, you have one character meets another character and then goes on a journey to help, obviously, save Nemo. But in this one, I thought they tried to sort of subvert the narrative a little bit, because you have Dory, and she meets, instead of just meeting one character and then participating on the journey with that character, you have her meeting one character and then meeting another character and then meeting another character and meeting another character. And I thought that made it kind of unpredictable. And I liked sort of the connections that you had with sort of the greater Pixar universe when you really think about it, bringing in Sigourney Weaver, and also this sort of weird sort of undercurrent to it of I don't know, of why are they moving all of these fish to Cleveland? Like, the more I thought about it, the more interested I was. And of course, you have this wonderful message about learning to look at through the eyes of people that are different, and what would Dory do? I thought that was really nice disability message, especially with Me Before You being so putrid in May. That was very welcome. And I think it looks beautiful. I love the way they did lighting to kind of show this more polluted area, which also gives this darker undertone, I think, to the film a little bit. And it's just it's one of Pixar's funniest films, if not their funniest. Like, it made me laugh really hard. So there you go. So that's Finding Dory. Okay, so then the last movie that I saw before I went to Spain was The Legend of Tarzan. And this one is one that I thought was fine. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was a Tarzan movie. That was my main problem with it. I mean, there's almost none of him swinging through the trees as Tarzan. Very little, probably under 10 minutes of this movie is him actually being Tarzan. The rest is him very buttoned up, very, he's already become adjusted to an English lifestyle. It's really like a colonial battle movie, and I thought Christoph Waltz was way over the top. I'm not really a big fan of his, and I just thought it was pretty generic. But it's fine. I don't hate it. It's decently entertaining, but nothing great. So unfortunately, and I thought that you just got very little. There is good chemistry between Tarzan and Jane, but I would have liked to see more about their backstory than you got. So there you go, Legend of Tarzan. So then I went to Spain, and I saw on the plane some movies on the plane. I saw Barbershop, The Next Cut, which I actually liked a lot. I thought that was very funny, and I have not seen any of the Barbershop movies. I laughed a ton. I mean, this has not been a good year for comedies, but I really thought it was well written and had a huge heart, great message, and really charismatic performances. And I laughed. I was laughing the whole time. So maybe, we'll see what I think when I'm not on the plane, but I really liked it. So there you go. Then I saw Demolition with Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's good in it, but oh my gosh. This is a very ponderous, very self-indulgent movie about Jake Gyllenhaal, whose wife has died, and he's very narcissistic, and he reaches out to this vending machine sales rep, played by Naomi Watts, and I didn't buy their relationship. I just didn't care about this character because he's so narcissistic and he's so unlikable. Oh, hi! I got a comment. Tom Blankley reviews. Says Finding Dory is really good. I agree very, very much. I loved Finding Dory, and I like it even more on the second watch. I thought it had sort of a. At first, I was kind of like, well, that's sort of forgettable, but then I think on the second watch, I realized there was depth to it that I hadn't seen before. So. Okay, so yeah, Demolition, definitely one to skip. I thought it was very, very obnoxious. Then the next film I saw on the plane was Everything is Copy, and this is technically a HBO film, but I had to watch it because it is based on the life of Nora Ephron, who is one of my literary and cinematic heroes. I just love her writing so much, and so it was really neat to kind of hear and learn more about her life. And it was made, directed by her son. So that was really cool. And I recommend it if you like her work and you like interesting sort of stories about Hollywood and life and things like that. So that was cool. And then I also saw Zootopia, Good Dinosaur, on the plane again, which I love both those films. I saw Kung Fu Panda 3, which I loved that as well. And I just love the adoption message in Kung Fu Panda 3. I think that's maybe why not that I'm adopted or anything, but it's just a cause that's close to my heart. And I think maybe that's why I respond to it a little bit more than maybe some others have, because I just think that is really lovely in that film. So then I saw the last thing I saw on the plane was Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and it goes in another line of movies with Tina Fey that are lame. And this movie could have been good. It really could have been an interesting sort of exploration of a woman reporter in Kabul, and instead it's just a lot of really unlikable people partying and going from party to party to party. It's very soap opera-y. It's very, I don't know, just didn't care about any of these characters. The dialogue didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like the way these characters would actually talk to me. And then you have even worse, you have a lot of characters that are white, plain Arab, which I didn't like. That was very inappropriate, I thought, for this day and age. And I think somebody like Tina Fey should know better. I can't believe that I think she's a producer on this, and that she would approve something like that. I think was weird. And I'm not a fan of 30 Rock, and I just don't quite get Tina Fey, to be honest. I like Mean Girls, but that was a long time ago, and her movies have been horrible in my opinion, aside from voice acting. That's just my opinion. Tom says, I didn't see Whiskey Tango Foxtrot because, judging by the trailer, it looked garbage. It really was very, very disappointing, even on the plane. It just it just didn't feel genuine, like these people would actually exist and talk the way that they did. That was the biggest problem with it, was the dialogue was very poorly written. So, oh well. Okay. So then I got back and I saw The Secret Life of Pets. And this was a real pleasant surprise. I was able to be on the Rotoscopers podcast for Secret Life of Pets. So you want to check that out. And I'm not a big fan of Illumination's films in general. I think the Despicable Me movies are okay. They're fine, but I don't love them like other people do. And I did not like Minions at all. And the more I thought about it, I disliked it even more. I kind of gave it, it's sort of like Ninja Turtles in a way. I was just like, when I first saw it, I was like, eh. And then the more I thought about it, the more annoyed I was with it. A lot more than Ninja Turtles, I guess. But I just did not like Minions, and I really didn't like the Lorax. So I haven't been that big a fan of their movies, and so I didn't have high expectations going to The Secret Life of Pets. I thought the first teaser was pretty great, showing the pets, when their owners are away. And I kind of wish that the movie had stayed more with that instead of going into this search and rescue kind of story. But they didn't. Instead, they went with this more of this search and rescue kind of thing. And I think the movie would have had a lot more heart if the owner had realized that the pets were gone, because then there would have been some kind of emotion to it. And they try with the with Duke's former owner to throw in the emotion, but that didn't really work. But I don't know. Like I thought New York looked great. I thought the animation was really good, and I thought it was funny enough to be pretty enjoyable. I thought it had a nice. I don't know. I thought it was cheerful and enjoyable, a nice little comedy, and I think it's one the whole family can enjoy. It's not too crass. It doesn't have the adult humor that I hate, like the Minions had. There's some wacky sequences, like when they go into a sausage factory, and I kind of like that. I dug it. I thought that was cool, and I loved Gidget was my favorite, and Chloe. Those were really fun. And it's not the kind of movie that I'm going to be thinking about in 10 years and be like, oh man, Secret Life of Pets was a great film, but I thought it was enjoyable. I liked it. So, okay. Then the next movie that I saw was Absolutely Fabulous, the movie. And I'm not a huge follower of the TV show, but I had seen a couple episodes. And evidently this movie is just for fans, because I thought it was pretty bad. It just didn't make me laugh. And like I like Central Intelligence. I'm willing to laugh at stupid comedies, but I don't know. Like it's just they were so horrible, these two women, and like they're pretty mean to people. Like the one assistant ends up basically like dying, and they don't even care at all. And their granddaughter, they put in a lot of peril, and they don't seem to care about that at all. And I don't. It just anything can be funny. It just didn't make me laugh. So if it maybe big fans of the show, maybe it will make them laugh. But even them, I've heard that they were kind of disappointed by it. So who knows? That seems to be the thing this year. Is that like you have to be a hardcore fan of everything in order to like something, which is a shame, because I feel like that doesn't do the property any kind of service. If you're only making something that is for the fans, then I feel like you're only helping that property. You're not expanding it and making it accessible at all to a wider range of people, which is a shame, because I could tell that these actresses had talent and that they were funny, and they did have moments that were funny, but overall it just felt like, wow, these people are awful. Tom Bling says, I've never watched Absolutely Fabulous on TV. Yeah, it can be a pretty funny show, but I think it's a little bit, again, I'm not an expert on it, but I think it's a little bit of a uh, what do you say, leftovers from the 90s. Like, I think that a lot of the stuff, the narcissism that maybe was so funny at the 90s because we have reality TV and the Kardashians and horrible, narcissistic people like Trump and stuff, that I think maybe some of that humor is kind of a little bit passe maybe. But um anyway, I didn't think it was funny. What can I say? And I just think it's a shame that we keep making these movies that are so fan specific, because because I just think it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't do anything for anybody except for the people who are already fans. And so why do we even need it? Okay. Uh yeah, Tom says the Kardashians and Donald Trump don't even deserve to be mentioned. Yeah. I say they're narcissistic. There's no better example of narcissism than them, I think. Uh, Absolutely Fabulous is much better than either the Kardashians or the Trumps. But I'm just saying, I think that in a lot of what seemed so outrageous in the 90s maybe doesn't feel as outrageous now. Okay, so next I saw Ghostbusters, and I actually thought it was kind of fun. Yeah, same thing, kind of. Yeah, I know that there was all this nonsense, and I had a lot of fun doing my review, where I just kind of pretended that the all the nonsense didn't exist, and my friend Rachel had just said, "Hey, you want to you hear about this this Ghostbusters movie?" Like the way you used to get a review, or used to get a recommendation from a movie from a friend, just talking on the phone and saying, "Hey, have you seen the have you heard about Ghostbusters? Oh yeah, that sounds good." And now it's just gotten so, like, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, I like the original Ghostbusters just fine, but I think it is far from some kind of cinematic masterpiece like people are claiming. I don't know. I guess humor's subjective, but I didn't think it was so special like so many people seem to think. Um, but but anyway, and I thought that the new Ghostbusters was funny. It made me laugh. I think it's way better than the trailers, which were poor. No doubt. That I thought it was way funnier than those trailers made it out to be. I thought it had some nice satire with the Chris Hemsworth character. That uh, that I thought that the Chris Hemsworth character was an interesting satire on the type of female receptionists and female characters that you so often see. And so people are like, "Oh, it was anti-man." I'm like, "No, it's not. It was a satire against the type of female characters that you so often see in Hollywood blockbusters, and don't even give it a second thought that those characters exist and that they are there." Tom says, "If I said Ghostbusters was okay, does that mean we're still friends?" Yes, yes. I like people of all Ghostbusters preferences. I'm accepting of all Ghostbusters. Just don't harass Leslie Jones. That's the only thing I ask. Give her a break. She was just in a movie. Yeah, I guess also it was kind of cool for me to see like superhero-ish characters that, when you have Melissa McCarthy, she kind of looks like me a little bit. I feel like she's my doppelganger. And and so that was sort of fun to see a character that, uh wasn't like a movie star supermodel, that was fighting bad guys. It was kind of cool. And I don't know. It's not like a masterpiece, but I don't think the first one is, to be honest. I think it's a fun little movie with characters fighting ghosts. And the ending definitely is sort of big and bloated, but I liked how all these different inventions that Holtzman was always making, and I thought that was sort of fun. And I liked some of the designs of some of the ghosts. Like there's these ghost balloons, like Macy's things. I thought they were cool. So If it didn't work for you, fine with me. I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. So that's fine there. And it certainly was not worthy of all of the nonsense and people acting like it was going to destroy their childhood and stuff, which is so ridiculous. Like, get a grip. Okay, so the next movie is Ice Age Collision Course. I can't even say it. This is the fifth of the Ice Age movies. I went with my friend Rachel, and we had a lot of fun doing the review together. It was much more fun than the movie itself. And there's some like randomness about the movie that's sort of amusing if you like that kind of humor. Like, I don't know, things like Neil deGrasse Tyson appears as a weasel in a dream. So I mean, it's sort of totally random. And I guess some people might like Scrat. He's in space, and he's causing this. His actions cause this asteroid to be hurling towards the Earth. But really, it's yeah. The secret to happiness in life is low expectations. That's my motto. You're learning, Tom. I love it. But with Ice Age, it's really more just a lot of characters complaining a lot. It's not really jokes, I felt like. And I think the funniest moment of the whole movie was there's the scene where Scrat causes, that red dot to be on Mars. He causes that to happen, and this little boy behind me says, "That's not how it happened, Mom. That's not happening." And that made me laugh more than anything in the movie. And the 3D was terrible. So it's if you had to have a babysitter for your kids, like, it's whatever. But there's so much better out there when you have Finding Dory, Secret Life of Pets, Zootopia, smaller independent animated films, all of that. So there's no reason to see Ice Age 5. My friends over at rotoscopers.com, they decided, instead of reviewing Ice Age 5, they decided to do Bambi. And I was joking with them that I think that there should be a Bambi for Ice Age 5 option. Like, they should just announce at the beginning of the screening, say, who wants to watch Bambi instead? And I was like, me. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if you could go to the theater and there'd be like an opt-out? We're gonna give everybody the chance to see Bambi instead, or Fantasia, or Pinocchio, or something like that. That would be awesome. Okay, so the next film that I saw is the BFG, and this was a disappointment for me. It's not a terrible movie. I did like it. I thought it was sweet and simple and worth watching, but I was hoping it would be great. Yeah, I think everybody would definitely want to watch Bambi instead of Ice Age 5. I know I would. That's for sure. Um, so anyway, yeah, the BFG. It's based on the beloved Roald Dahl novel. Roald Dahl's novels are so hard to transfer over to screen because they just have this darkness to them that is just tough to translate. There's been some good ones. I love The Witches. That one's so good. I really like James and the Giant Peach. I like Matilda, even though I think you get a little bit too much Trunchbull. It's just so hard to handle tone. Of course, you've got also Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but look at the disaster that we got from Tim Burton. Oh my gosh. They're just tough. It's a tough novel. It's a tough they're tough stories to transfer over to a family-friendly market. But you had high expectations. Again, secret to happiness in life is low expectations, because you got Steven Spielberg. He got his team that he typically has. You have I think her name Melissa Matheson, I think is her name, who wrote E.T. Behind it, doing the adaptation. And so it's disappointing that it wasn't better. A lot of it is, there's just not quite enough story. I was left asking a lot of questions, like, why are the giants just sort of standing around, kind of waiting to make trouble in the BFG's life. Like, why is he the only one that has a job? Why is he the only one that has a house? Why is he the only one that has this ability for dreams? Where did he learn how to get the dreams? All those kind of questions. Like, I shouldn't be asking those kind of questions. Like, the movie should be engaging me enough that I don't care about that kind of thing. But I did like the performances. The little girl is really good. The production design was really good. I thought John Williams' score was great. I liked the visualization, the way they did the dreams, I thought looked really cool. And once it kind of gets going towards the end, where you get when the queen becomes involved, then I think it's really quite fun. But if you want a better example of this same kind of very similar in tone and style of story that's executed much better, much tighter, much funnier, much sweeter, I would say watch last year's Paddington. I think is better than the BFG. It's also an adaptation of a British classic school story, but I think that Paddington is much, much, much better than the BFG, which is a shame. But it's not horrible. Like, people think you have to either like love something or you have to like hate it. And I think for pretty much this whole summer, for the most part, I've been, aside from Warcraft and the Do-Over, I've been on the, it was pretty good. It was okay. I liked it. Whatever, thing. I haven't had that much that I've loved. But the next film that I saw is Star Trek Beyond. I've seen it twice because I had to do my podcast with Tom. You definitely want to check out that podcast. And I really thought this was an entertaining film. It's been a weak summer for blockbusters, and what I liked the most about it was sort of this feeling of friendship between the whole cast. And yeah, I agree. Tom Bling says, I hate that argument where you have to either like or dislike. Yes, I agree. Like, most things are kind of in the middle, and I can find value. There's not that many things that I just outright hate. Unless Adam Sandler's in it. Just kidding. Okay. So yes. So Star Trek Beyond. I haven't actually seen that much. Haven't seen any of the Star Trek TV show, but I've been watching all of these movies for these podcasts, and we just finished our 9th Star Trek podcast, and I've really become quite a big fan. And this definitely is a different take with Justin Lin from the Fast and Furious movies, and you really do get a feel for. You can see the Fast and Furious kind of style in this Star Trek movie, where you have sort of an emphasis on friendship, which you get in the Fast and Furious movies, and this chemistry and charisma of the stars, and then of course the wacky, ridiculous action sequences, which I thought were really fun and entertaining in this movie. To me, this felt a lot like a Marvel movie. I thought it had energy. I thought it had kind of a bland villain, kind of like you get in Marvel. But I'm realizing I don't really care that much about villains. Like, other people, it's like a deal breaker. Me, I'm like, yeah, who cares? And it was fine. It was a fine villain. Tom says, as someone who isn't a Star Trek fan, I was very surprised with Star Trek Beyond. Yes, I think so too. I loved Jayla as a character, and I liked the way that they divided it up into these little groups of characters, and these 2 people, 3 people kind of groups, because you got to spend time with characters that as a whole crew sometimes you don't get to see very much of, like someone like a Chekhov, or you get a lot more of Scotty than you might get. You get a lot more of Bones than you would normally get. Like, Bones and Spock were hilarious together. I loved that. I like I said, I loved Jayla and Scotty were great together. I thought that she was a great character because she was tough and she was strong, but she was also vulnerable and fearful. And so I thought that she was a kind of refreshing change from the sort of tough girl female character that we so often get these days. I thought she was great, and I don't know. I just thought it had energy. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I really thought it was very entertaining, and certainly a lot better than Into Darkness, which I think was trying too hard to replicate Wrath of Khan instead of just being its own good movie. So there you go. So I'm glad to hear you liked it too, Tom, because it was very entertaining. Okay, then I only have one more or two more. I have two more movies to talk about. The next one is Batman: The Killing Joke. So I was pretty excited about this actually because I love Mask of the Phantasm, and it's one of my favorite animated films. I think that has such a good story about Bruce Wayne and about Batman, and I it's the only one that I feel like Batman is actually the lead character and isn't lost to the villains in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is the biggest problem I have with pretty much almost any Batman movie is I feel like you just forget about him as a character. And anyway, and so I wasn't a big fan of Batman versus Superman that was earlier this year, and yeah, Mask of the Phantasm is so amazing. The way it uses lighting, the way it uses music is so good. And so I was so excited because I hadn't liked Batman v Superman. I was thinking, oh, this will be I can get on my channel and be like, this is how you do a Batman movie, yay! And you've got Mark Hamill, you've got Kevin Conroy back in the leading roles, Tara Strong as Batgirl, and I had heard good things about the graphic novel, and it was rated R. I typically don't see a ton of rated R movies, but I decided to give it a go, and so I went, and I really hated it. I did not like this movie at all, and the more I think about it, the more kind of abhorrent I think it is. The way that Barbara Gordon is kind of a puppet for whatever the plot. She's a victim to the plot. Whatever the plot needs her to do, they just kind of move her around. Like she's a tough girl fighting crime at 1 minute, and then she's with Batman, and they have no chemistry together, and it feels kind of icky because he's kind of her mentor and teacher, and I don't know. It's just, and she's raped when it needs to be raped. She's pitied when she needs to be pitied. She's admired when she needs to be admired. There's no sense of like, I'm an individual. I'm going to create a plan, and I'm going to have my own vision for what I want out of life. It's just whatever the story needed her to be. And so I really thought she was a horrible character, a horribly written character, and that really made me mad because we just get so few female characters, and I don't know why we can't get a good female superhero movie where she is the lead character, because she's the narrator of this movie. Like, she is the lead character, really. And you get so little Joker. I mean, you don't even see the Joker till the 37-minute mark. And Joker and Batman, which is supposed to be the big part of the graphic novel, of them kind of him showing Batman like his worst day, you hardly get any of that. I mean, people are excusing it because of that. I mean, there's probably under 10 minutes of Batman and the Joker together and them having any kind of interaction. I mean, the Joker spends more time with Jim Gordon in the movie than he does with Batman. And Mark Hamill is good as the vocals, but that's really the only positive thing I can say about it. I thought it was really, really bad. I thought it was misogynistic, and I didn't even think the animation was that good. The animation looked pretty generic, and so it was very disappointing. The Killing Joke, unfortunately. So yeah, Tom says, I would say that Star Trek Beyond is a lot better than Into Darkness, definitely. Even though I love Cumberbatch, I'm a sucker for Benedict Cumberbatch. It wasn't his fault, but he wasn't allowed to really shine in that movie, I don't think. Okay, then the last movie that I just saw, is called Life Animated, and this is a documentary. It's been a great year for documentaries. I've seen 3 that I loved already this year. This is a wonderful documentary about a boy named Owen who has severe autism, and he literally cannot talk aside from just this gibberish for 4 years. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like to have a child who couldn't talk to you. I mean, and one day they have this breakthrough and they realize that he can talk through Disney films. Like, and I'm not saying like he's inspired by them. I'm saying he literally uses the text in the dialogue from Disney films to describe what he's feeling. He has these movies memorized, and so like it was just really really neat the way that you saw this unique perspective, and the way that, and it wasn't one of those movies where like I Am Sam or some movie like that where this type of disability makes them better or makes them more enlightened or something like that. This was just one family, one person, and the way they look at the world. And it wasn't trying to put it on some kind of pedestal or patronizing like these could be, I didn't think. And the way that animation gives him a voice was just really cool and really inspirational. And I have to give Disney a lot of credit because they allowed a lot of clips to be used in the film, and also for this for some animation that described his story, his life, and also the little story that he wrote, which was called The Land of the Lost Sidekicks, where you have Baloo and Rabbit and Timon and all of these characters that are sidekicks that are all battling this evil force. And that was sort of used throughout the film to show the different challenges of Owen's life. And I think that anybody will be inspired. It'll make you feel good. There's so many, like we were just talking about, the Kardashians and the Trumps and these horrible people, and it can feel really discouraging. Like you see this nonsense that people gave Leslie Jones over a movie. It just can be discouraging, and so it feels good sometimes to watch movies like this, or Presenting Princess Shaw, or something like that makes you feel like, oh, there's good people, yay. There's good people that are trying, and families that are trying, and we're not all part of that all of this nonsense involving movies can actually maybe help someone in their life. It made me feel really good. And I liked that they did acknowledge the hard stuff too, but not in a self-aggrandizing way. And it was just a lovely little film that I'm glad I saw. So it can only just be frustrating though when these great indie films get kind of ignored, and people don't know about them or see them. Yeah, Tom says I feel sorry for Leslie Jones. I do too. I think it's just ridiculous. Like, if people don't like a movie, it doesn't have anything to do with the actors involved. Like, that's ridiculous. That's like saying a building, comes down, falls apart, and you blame, Joe Schmo construction worker who was just following orders. Like, they're not the architect. They're not the, like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, it's just people with the anonymity of Twitter can just be so ridiculous. And so I don't know. Anyway, so that's why you need to see movies like Life Animated or Presenting Princess Shaw that'll make you remember how good people can be. So yeah, so that's some great films I've been able to see. I would say the worst movie that I saw over those 2 months, I mean, definitely we got Do-Over and Warcraft are the worst. And then the best, I mean, you take Singing in the Rain and A Cure out of it because those are clearly the best. But as far as new releases, yeah, it is totally getting too out of hand. As far as new releases, my favorite, probably Life Animated is probably my favorite. And then as far as and then Star Trek Beyond is probably my second favorite. And Presenting Princess Shaw would be my third favorite. So yeah, interesting. And then Secret Life. Well, no, Finding Dory I'd say Life Animated, Finding Dory, which have a very similar message actually when you think about it, and then Presenting Princess Shaw, and maybe Secret Life of Pets and Ghostbusters, maybe in that order. Yeah, I'd say the biggest disappointments for me is Independence Day Resurgence. I think could have been way better than it was. I think that I think the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot could have been way better than it is. What else? There's so many disappointments. But yeah, so that's some of my thoughts. I think the BFG could have been much better, even though I didn't hate it. So those are probably the biggest disappointments. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know what your favorite was of the last 2 months, and maybe what your least favorite is too, if you want to talk about that. And I hope you get to see some of these good movies that I've been talking about, and hopefully you avoid the bad ones. And so thanks so much for listening to me ramble about these movies. Tom says, I'm in no particular order. The Nice Guys, When Marnie Was There, Star Trek Beyond, and Finding Dory. Oh, those are some ones. I still need to see The Nice Guys, but I forgot that When Marnie Was There just came out in the UK. Oh, the movie's so good. I loved it. I love that movie. So I'm glad you got to see it. Talk about great sound design. It's just everything in that movie is so lush. It's so real. It's so beautiful. And I loved the story of a girl trying to deal with her depression in that way. I thought it was great. So yeah. So thanks so much, Tom, for joining in. I really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to the comments and the comment section. And thanks so much for listening to me ramble about all these movies. And we'll be ready for hopefully August will improve. We've got Kubo and the Two Strings, which I'm so excited for. We've got Pete's Dragon, which early buzz is looking really good, and I'm really pulling for it because I think it's a chance that Disney is taking on a auteur director, on a indie director, which I really want to encourage for them and to do something a little bit different. And so I'm really looking forward to Pete's Dragon. Those are probably my two most looking forward to for August. I'm not going to see Sausage Party. That's the one animated film I won't see this year, but hopefully you all will enjoy it. And so, yeah, that is my video. So thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!